As usual, all eyes this week have been on the two main speeches at the UN General Assembly that tend to attract the most attention. Yesterday, António Guterres, the UN Secretary-General, spoke and highlighted several points in painting a bleak picture of where the world is headed. He said that the world was gridlocked in a colossal global dysfunction thanks to the rise of geopolitical competition amongst the world's major powers. He said that the world faced a major divergence between the countries of the global north and the countries of the global south, the latter of which lack a representation in international institutions. And he said that the world was engaged in a suicidal war with nature, without reaching the goals of the Paris Climate Accord. Today, President Biden got a chance to offer his own address to the UN General Assembly, and he addressed many of the points that the Secretary General had raised the day before. The first and most important, particularly in the wake of Vladimir Putin's escalation of rhetoric, was to forthrightly condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine and attempt to rally the world in language that the UN member states can understand, less about a battle between autocracy and democracy, but more about how this war is a fundamental test of the principles at the heart of the UN Charter that every nation can understand, namely the sanctity of sovereignty and the principle of non-intervention. The president also held out hope to the countries of the developing world, particularly announcing new initiatives to combat food security, to address many of the health threats, including the lingering COVID pandemic around the world. He also importantly said that the United States was in favor of expansion of the UN Security Council, both in its permanent membership and in its non-permanent membership, which will be very well received on the part of his global audience. Third, the president responded to the issue of climate change by touting what the United States has done, not least in the major package of $369 billion that Congress approved to deal with climate change and to try to accelerate the clean energy transition. The final issue that President Biden raised was the competition with China. He reiterated U.S. support for a one China policy and said the United States does not want a Cold War with China, which again is in the background of many people's minds around the world. And the notion that the United States is prepared to work with China while also disagreeing with it on fundamental issues is highly important, and I think a very prudent and wise move on the part of the president. The president finished by basically reiterating the importance of the United Nations and the importance of its member states living up to the principles that animated those visionaries who created it in 1945.